For a bit now, I've been meaning to try out something called PostMarketOS. It is a Linux distro that can be installed on a bunch of Android phones. As it happens, turns out that I have a phone that is supported by it. This is a Motorola G5S from 2017. It used to be my daily driver for a few years, but now it's quite outdated. If you're interested in the specs, it has a Snapdragon 430 and 3 gigs of RAM. Certainly no powerhouse, not then and even less so now, but we should at least be able to have a look at the OS on it. I went into this blind, so I'll be recounting how the whole process went in chronological order. Firstly, I got onto my Linux laptop and went on their website to find my device. I typed in the code name, which is Montana for this phone. They have a little install section right there on the wiki page for it, with just 4 commands. At first, I didn't know what to make of them exactly, cause that seemed too simple. Either way, I then started trying to replicate these steps. First, I installed PM Bootstrap on the laptop, which turns out to be a utility specifically made for installing PostMarketOS. Afterwards, I could get started with running the commands. For the first one, I had to select the make and model of this specific phone, which took me a bit. But this was purely my mistake, cause I didn't pay enough attention. They clearly say which ones to choose right there in the comments next to the first line. So then I chose those and all was good. I went with the default options for pretty much everything. As for the version, I chose the latest stable one, 25.12 at the time of filming. I did change the user interface where I went with OS installer. I thought this would be needed to set up the phone, but turns out that's not the case. Everything is already set up from the terminal, so that is not needed. I will still show you what happened with that though. After having it all configured, I could run the second command. For this one, it was just a matter of waiting for everything to get installed. Onto the third one, we had to install LK2nd from here. It seemed to be pretty much another bootloader besides the one your phone would normally have. This is to load into something that is not Android. It was quickly installed on the boot partition of the phone after just pasting in the command. For the final line, I ended up having to restart the phone. It booted up into the LK2nd fastboot mode, and after running the command, it started sending the OS over to the phone. Once that was done, and after a quick restart, the phone booted up into PostMarketOS. Oh my god, we've got Linux. We soon got into the OS installer that I mentioned. Since everything is already installed, it just crashed, but that is alright. So now we have a working phone with Linux. Well, mostly working. On the wiki it does mention that for this model we have no cellular or GPS. But what is worse than that is that we have no gyroscope. This means that the phone won't know if it's upright in portrait mode or sideways in landscape. So we have to change that manually every time we want the screen to rotate. But anyway, let's see how this works. First thing I did was go into Firefox and load up YouTube. Using one of my own videos, since those are the ones I have the rights to. That seemed to be okay, a bit laggy but not freezing or anything. Also, the environment that got installed on here for the OS installer seemed to be GNOME, but the desktop variant, not the mobile optimized one. My next thought was to get an OTG adapter and a mouse and keyboard to see if they worked, and they actually did right away. Oh, we got a cursor. It works. The following day, I wanted to have a try at putting Plasma Mobile on it. I used KDE Plasma on my desktop and laptop and I'm really happy with it, so I wanted to see how the mobile version compares. The process was just like before, hop into the terminal, set things up and just choose Plasma Mobile as the user interface. I ran the install command and let it do its thing, which took a bit because of all the extra Plasma apps that I chose to be installed. Since LK2nd is already installed, we don't have to repeat that step. I restarted into fastboot mode and ran the fourth command to load up the new configuration onto the phone. Just like that, we have a new install with Plasma Mobile. Shortly after the phone booted up, a menu popped up for the initial setup. I went with dark mode and 200% display scaling. I gave it my Wi-Fi password and we were off to try this out again. I had a look around, found the menus to be really similar to Android, which is quite neat. After that, I started going on random apps, mostly stuff that you would expect on a phone. I wanted to see if the camera worked, but it was not that great. While it did display, it was tinted greenish gray and really slow, at about a frame a second maybe. There was also no front camera or anything showing up, so this seems to be the only option. There was this app on here called AudioTube that got me curious. Turns out it's a music streaming app, presumably pulling from YouTube. It allowed me to test out the sound with Scarlet Fire cause that's the one copyright free track I could think of at the moment. Sound works kinda, cause for some reason it's coming out of the tiny earpiece at the top of the phone instead of the actual speaker at the bottom of it. Next up, since this is a Linux device, I just had to figure out how to get fast fetch on here. I wanted to have that cool logo and list of specs on the screen. Turns out that PostMarketOS is based on a distribution called Alpine, which uses a terminal command called apk to install stuff. And yeah, having that called apk on a phone that also normally runs Android would never cause any confusion. In order to install it, the command to run was sudo apk add fastfetch. I then just ran it and got the screen I wanted. What more could you want out of your Linux phone? I also wanted to check out Angelfish, the built-in browser, but that would just crash. So instead I went on Discover, basically this phone's app store. I looked for Firefox, which turned out to be conveniently placed at the top of the front page. Installing it took quite a long time though, and I would blame this old phone more than the OS here. But after some waiting, we eventually got there. When I launched it, the screen seemed to be cut off in a weird way. Turned out the scaling was at a weird value of 280, so I changed it back to 200 and that fixed it. I did the YouTube test again, but this time with some stats, and it was playing at 1080p but dropping frames all over the place. Overall, I would say Plasma Mobile was not too bad. Personally, I enjoyed the menus and navigation based on Android because they made for a really familiar experience. My complaints though would be that it felt pretty laggy on this phone and a bit glitchy at points, but I'm sure this would get better with time. However, for the final tests, I went back and installed GNOME Mobile on here, the process for which was exactly the same. This one for me was the best one. I think the interface looks quite nice and polished, and it also was smooth to navigate through, which really does improve the experience. I didn't get to do that much on here, just checked out Firefox again with YouTube with the same results, even on the high power mode. Unfortunately, there is not that much to do on PostMarketOS when it comes to native apps, especially on a phone as slow as this one. There does seem to be a Waydroid option which would allow us to run Android apps on here too, but with a phone as slow as this one, I think that is best avoided. Now, to draw some conclusions. PostMarketOS was quite unlike what I was expecting going in. I was prepared for a tedious install process with fails and confusion and messing things up. But no, it was extremely straightforward and simple to follow along with. The experience of using it though, on this phone at least, was quite subpar compared to Android. I think the lack of cellular and GPS are excusable, and personally I was not that interested in those anyway. The things that are harder to stomach though are most of the others. The interface being potentially slow and things such as icons in the App Store or images in the wallpaper section barely loading. Not to mention the messed up camera, sound coming out of the wrong speaker, and having to go into menus to change the screen orientation manually every single time. I tried to find a quick setting for it, but with no luck. Of course though, no hate towards this project. I do genuinely think it is really cool. I would also say that with Android seemingly heading in a direction where it gets more locked down, I'm really rooting for this to get better over time. Who knows, it could potentially become a less common but still viable option for your phone, much like Linux is starting to be on desktop. I'll be checking out this project over time and maybe give it another go one day. That is, if I get my hands on a phone that better supports it and lets us try out more features. This being said, I'd encourage you to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos of me messing around with technology in the future. And until next time, see ya.